We talk about the Civil War, but we seem to ignore the fact that it was the manipulation of ethno-religious sentiment that eventually boiled over into that tragedy.
I think this is a negative part of what we're experiencing.
There's no shooting anymore.
We must come together as Nigerians.
We are brothers and sisters. Nigeria first before your politics.
We're all engaged in trying to keep the country united.
For a nation to develop, conflicts must be minimized.
Peace and stability is extremely important for
my hope and prayer is that the Nigerian of our dream will be achieved.
A very good day to you. This is Building the Nation on Global TV, Star Times Channel 276. Our dedication to building the nation is sacrosanct. Today on Building the Nation, we'll be looking at a legislative agenda because, of course, you know, in a democracy, without a cordial relationship between the executive and the legislature, it almost becomes impossible to have good governance delivered to the people. And so today on Building the Nation, we'll be speaking with a man who understands this only too well, a lawmaker. We'll be speaking with a man who's also been in the Red Chamber, two-time senator, and a man who became a House of Assembly member at the age of 30, even when the not too young to run bill was not yet in place. You're wondering, who am I talking about? We'll take a quick break, and when I do come back, I'll tell you more about my guest. Stay with me.
I am Yusuf Buba, a versatile broadcaster, and this is Global Television on Star Times Channel 276. At Global Television, we have all it takes to entertain, educate, and inform you. Keep watching.
You are on to Global Television for the very best in entertainment, sports, in-depth analysis, reportage, whatsoever that has to do with broadcasting is where you should be. Stay put.
This is Global TV, and you're watching us on channel 276, Star Time. My name is Fauzia Lukman. Don't go anywhere. Keep watching.
My guest today is Senator Babajide Christopher Omoworare, a prince of the Ife Kingdom. As a matter of fact, he's the grandson of the Ooni Adesoji Aderemi in Ile-Ife. So that tells you I'm seated with royalty, but not just royalty. When royalty combines with political power, that tells you that there is more. The leadership comes naturally, but it also comes, with what he has garnered over the years. Let me give you a briefing to who this wonderful guest of mine is today. My guest today is Senator Babajide Christopher Omoworare, CON, Commander of the Order of the Niger, a two-time senator from Osun East Senatorial District. Prior to that, he was a member of the Lagos State House of Assembly from 1999 to 2007 as one of the grandchildren of Ooni Adesoji Aderemi. He is a lawmaker who rose up the ranks from being a member of the House of Assembly to becoming a senator. That's like a triple promotion, if you ask me. And even though he was elected in the Lagos State House of Assembly, he moved on to Osun State, and was able to become a senator in his home state. As a senator, he was a member of several committees and chaired a few of them, including Rules and Business, Judiciary, Petroleum, Health, and Sports. Senator Omoworare is passionate about constitutional reforms, especially on the police, judiciary, prisons, and youth empowerment. Well, they say that you don't shave a man's head in his absence. I have he himself right here in his office, actually. And we want to find out what he did differently between 2019 and 2023 that enabled the government of President Muhammadu Buhari have a somewhat seamless relationship between the executive and the Senate. A very good day to you, Senator Jide Omoworare. CON.
Thanks for having me.
Should we start with your CON? How did it feel to become the Commander of the Order of the Niger?
Well, it's an acknowledgement of what you've done, and it's always a call to do more. You don't rest on your horse. From my own understanding, from my perspective, when you are honored, if you'll be making the mistake of your life, you won't make any progress. If you, for more than a moment, celebrate whatever honor you has been bestowed on you, you celebrate. But like I said, for more than a moment, you celebrate and you move on. You recalibrate. You want to, you go back into your recess to say, what did I really worth it? Was it worth it? Then what else can I do to propel me to do more for the people? Life, especially in public sector, is about good governance and is about delivering public good. So if the government of your federation, of your country, has seen that you've done well and honor has been bestowed on you, that should encourage you, that should propel you to do a lot more.
Well, this is building the nation, and we are particularly passionate about how Nigeria can be built by Nigerians themselves. And we're going to come from the angle of where you, as a senior special assistant to President Muhammadu Buhari, was able to perhaps ease the tension between the Senate and the presidency. You would recall that between 2015 and 2019, it appeared that the Senate and the presidency were at loggerheads almost every time. But somehow between 2019 and 2023, we almost, at some point, the Senate was being accused of being rubber stamp. What did you do? Or what is the magic wand that you waved that made that difference?
Well, basically, my view is, for a lot of reasons, the relationship between the executive and the legislature must be cordial. And you as the liaison officer, because my job is to serve as liaison between the executive and the legislature. And it is not an accident or a mistake that usually somebody that has been a senator before is chosen. When we started in 1999, we didn't have that precedent, that antecedent. So we did not have as liaison someone that was, a senator before. But as time goes on, we discovered that someone that feels like a senator now on the other side of the road, like I call it, should do the work. You've been a senator before, you know what it takes to be a senator, you know the challenges the legislature as an arm of government faces, and at the same time, you are now on the other side of the road. You are now with the executive. So you are almost the best person to be able to bring that cordiality. If an action is proposed from the executive, you must let them know whether it will work or not. And you can't do it by reading about it. You can do it only by experiencing it.
Wow.
You can do it only by experiencing it. You must have... One thing about the parliament, about governance, about life generally, is that we relive almost everything that happens before.
So what you're trying to say is that nothing new is created.
Nothing new is created. You just have to let the executive know that this will not fly in the legislature. It will not fly. You've been there before. You know what will fly. You have to advise them it will not fly. If you don't have any option for so many reasons, you have to also work within the legislature to ensure it flies. So it's always a very difficult work. You have to ensure it flies. It may be difficult, but it has to fly. So, but at the same time, it is incumbent on you to let the executive know. And at the same time, you also let the legislature know that this is the perspective of the executive on this issue. If you want us to live together peacefully, and because at the end of the day, what matters most is the delivery of public good to the people. That is what matters at the end of the day.
Okay.
So if whatever action you want to take, or whatever your inaction is, and you are not carrying the people along, and it's not in the interest of the people, you also must let the two sides know that this is what is happening. But basically, the Constitution is very clear about the powers of the executive and about the powers of the legislature. very clear. The Constitution has provided that there is separation of powers. Yet the same Constitution provides that there must be checks and balances. You cannot live in silos. The executive cannot live on its own without relating with the legislature, and the legislature cannot survive without the executive. Let me give you just basic examples. The main function of the legislature is lawmaking. That's why we are lawmakers. But you cannot even make any law if at the end of the day is not assented to by the president. So the president, that is another arm of government entirely, executive, has the power, has the last say. Of course, in the interest of the same checks and balances principle, the legislature has the power to upturn the veto, because when the president refuses to sign the bill of the legislature, it amounts to a veto. So the power to upturn the veto is also returned. So it's like table tennis. The executive has its powers, the legislature has its powers. They must relate. They must depend on each other. That is the most people, especially people that sell the medium of information dissemination, which is what I call media. Sensation. The executive has gone ahead. The legislature has not caught up. This is what will happen. But the truth of the matter is that we must relate. There's no competition in government. There is no competition in governance. The executive and the legislature are two different arms of government, but they must relate. That's why there's power of oversight. That's why there's power of investigation. But at the same time, there is no appointment, for instance, another instance, that is made by the executive, especially the most important ones, that the executive will not, ministers, the CJN, the judicial appointment, the ambassadors, and the rest of it must come for confirmation before the National Assembly, before the Senate specifically. So that is the pre-birth relationship, but we are not fighting. Okay. The essence is to deliver the public good.
Okay, now, I don't know if you were privy to the election of the current Senate president before they become outgone now, right? They're outgoing now because yes. In a few days they'll be out, right? Yes. But how much did you contribute to getting the Senate president, that Senate President Ahmed Lawan, into the Senate seats? Because I'm going somewhere from that, because from there, I want to go into the fact that it has been said several times that it's a rubber stamp.
No, it's not. You see, it's a misconception. It's a misconception and like I said, it's what the idea of the National Assembly or the Senate being rubber stamp is just sensation. It's just to sell the medium of information dissemination. That is all. The Senate will do its work. I personally imagine I'm nominated by the president now, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, and to make a political statement, I'm dropped. It's going to hurt me. It's going to hurt my family. It's going to hurt everybody around me. It's going to affect my political trajectory. So the essence of the relationship between the executive and the legislature is not just to make a point that we want to assert ourselves. We are all guided by the Constitution, especially the Parliament is also guided beyond the Constitution by the Legislative House's Powers and Privileges Act, by the rules, and by convention. So if I'm nominated for a position that says I must be X year old, I've attained that. I must have minimum of school cert, I've attained that. I must be a member of a political party, I've attained that. I must be a Nigerian, I've attained that. And the security report is not against me, and I'm asked questions about the position I've been nominated to act, and I'm able to express myself and to explain that I understand what I'm going to do there, and the Senate agrees with me and they approve me. Is the Senate a rubber stamp?
No, because
So,
by all
standards. So, the fact that the president has done well, the former president that is, did well by nominating people, and all the people he nominated, almost all, not all. That's another thing I want to clear. People have always said that everybody nominated by Mr. President got approved. No, we have some instances that the Senate will say no.
There's the instance of the now current NDDC chairman.
Yes, she was nominated to be in INEC.
Yes.
As, don't forget that Section
Electoral
153.
officer.
Yeah, Section 153 of the Constitution created some statutory offices, and one of them happens to be INEC. Revenue Allocation and Fiscal Commission, Federal Character Commission, Federal Civil Service Commission, Code of Conduct, Population Commission, and so on and so forth. And she satisfied everything else except the fact that the Constitution had been amended, because for you to be a member under Section 154 of those bodies, you must also satisfy the requirement to be a member of House of Reps. Age-wise, you must also satisfy the condition to be a member of House of Reps.
Okay.
Meaning,
she was going for
yes.
Okay.
But as a prerequisite
Okay.
to being a member of those bodies,
Okay.
you must be a person that has satisfied the requirement, meaning you must be now 30-year-old. You must 25 actually, because of the not too young to run.
Bill.
You must have minimum of school certs as defined in Section 318 of the Constitution. Then you must be a member of a political party. You must be a Nigerian, but you must be a member of a political party. But you cannot be, which I think was an error, I think was a misnomer in the Constitution, which has been amendment. And I think that was the first amendment. So the first amendment now states that for INEC, you don't have to be a member of a political party, because the Justice Iwe's commission found out that most of resident electoral commissioners were card-carrying members of a political party, PDP, of course, naturally then, at that time. So that was not expunged. If you want to be in Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Commission and so, it does not affect it. But INEC, it affects it. So the Senate, in his wisdom, said, no, this is not. Some other reason, because there was also somebody from Delta State, was the person from Delta or not from Delta, and so on and so forth. But that is one. We had another person that did not, that I won't say the person did not serve. Let me put it that way. But there were issues surrounding the service of the person, NYSC. And the Senate said, okay, this is too controversial for us. The Senate dropped the person. I can mention like 5-6 instances that the Senate did this. But by and large, if you are qualified to serve on a commission, on a board, on a federal parastatal, the Senate will approve you because of your qualification. And if the Senate haven't spoken with you, the Senate has seen that you can do the job. The Senate will so approve it. That does not mean the Senate is rubber stamp. One. Number two, lawmaking. The president brought bills. There is no bill that is brought here. In fact, let me tell you something. What we don't do in the public is we don't argue in the public. There is no, in fact, we have these terminologies, tinkering with and tampering with.
Okay. And
the executive will always say they've tampered with a bill. And the legislature will always say that we've tinkered with the bill.
Okay.
The legislature is has the final say. What bill leaves the National Assembly to the president. The president has the discretion and the prerogative to sign or not to sign within 30 days under Section 58. But that particular thing that the legislature will do will just be based on the bill that is brought to them. And if they feel that the president has not added the financial clause, they will add it.
Okay.
That does not mean the president will not sign. Do you understand?
Yes.
If they feel the president has not added, for instance, has not properly crafted, without taking away the substance of the bill, has not properly crafted the long title of the bill, the legislature can so do.
And we'll tinker with it.
But will not tamper with it. It's not tampering with. It is tinkering with.
Tinkering with.
The legislature has the right to tinker. And there is hardly any bill brought by the executive, those assented to by the president, by the former president that is, and those that the former president did not assent to, that the National Assembly did not tinker with. It is the right of the National Assembly to make laws, and it is the right of the National Assembly to tinker. But the National Assembly cannot take away the substratum, cannot take away the substance. It is even in the rules of the National Assembly, both the Senate and the Reps. A bill cannot be sent to a committee and the committee comes back and everything has changed.
With a completely new bill.
It is not going to happen.
You're watching Building the Nation on Global TV on Star Times Channel 276. We have been speaking with Senator Jide Omoworare, the Senior Special Assistant to the now outgone President Muhammadu Buhari, who has held fort for him at the Senate for 4 years, 2019 to 2023. If you see that there were no brickbats, if you see that there were no jamming of heads, for lack of a better word, okay, between the presidency and the legislature in the last 4 years or in the outgone 4 years, well, these are some of the people who did the background work. But talking about that, the 10th Assembly is almost here. But before we go to that, let me ask you, Senator Jide Omoworare, from your own perspective as a two-time senator and former lawmaker in Lagos, how well would you say this Senate has done? How well would you rate the current outgoing Senate, the 9th Assembly?
To the best of my knowledge, this is the best, or one of the best, if not the best.
Okay. Why do you rate them so?
The platform created for the Senate, against the backdrop again of that relationship, the Senate was able to marshal almost everything possible for the executive to perform. If there was any reason, like I explained earlier on, for the Senate not to, the Senate will do, and the Senate did. But like I said again, most of these issues, we did not let them become sensitive. Let me even explain something else. We agreed ab initio, we agreed from the beginning that we work together.
That's the executive and the legislature.
In the interest of the people. And almost every bill that were passed were not passed by abstance, were not passed just because arbitrarily, but because when every assembly comes into place, in the National Assembly, the House of Representatives will have its own legislative agenda. The Senate will have its own legislative agenda. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has his own agenda. But we must, at a point in time, sync all these agenda together. We must synchronize in a formal, systemic manner all this agenda, because your priority may not be my priority, may not be that other person's priority, and so on. And so what we decided to do was to have an executive legislature agenda.
Okay, and what did that entail?
Everybody will look at security, anti-corruption, infrastructure, economy, and this and that, and so on and so forth. But we must, in fine details, look at, must we have, or mustn't we have, Process of Crime Act, the Money Laundering Act, must we amend it, the Anti-Terrorism Act, must we amend it, the deep oil and inland basin, deep offshore and inland basin production sharing contract agreement act, must we amend it to increase the revenue? Must we bring the cycle of the budget back to January to December? Must we have a finance bill? Must we have this? Must we have that? So these were the things we debated between the executive and the legislature, and we arrived at the most important bills. And I think we were able to achieve 80, 85, 90% of those bills. A few, we set up an agenda which is between the executive and legislature. Legislature had its agenda, even within the legislature, House of Reps and Senate. A little difference.
Okay, it's a good thing that in the last conversation you mentioned President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Yes.
The 10th Assembly has not yet been inaugurated, but there's a lot of horse trading as we speak. There are those for this candidate and there are those for that candidate. Are you in any way liaising with them since?
No.
That's the first question. I'm going to more. Are you in any way liaising to see who can do a good job as Senate President as we speak?
1, 2.
Okay, let me go to the second one.
Okay.
The second one will be, right now, there are quite a few people, especially in the Senate, who believe that they should get the Senate seat, right? And that said, for you as an ex-senator, and considering what happened in 2015 to the government of President Muhammadu Buhari that we managed to salvage in 2019, what do you think the presidents or the presidency, that's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, needs to hurriedly do, to ensure that we don't have a repeat of 2015? That's what a lot of people are afraid of.
Two immediate things. Number one is a process. It's not what is given. It's not dropped like manna. It's a process. Then secondly, you have 109 senators and you have 360 members of House of Reps, and everybody is qualified. Your main qualification is to be here. You have to be in the National Assembly. That is your main qualification. But beyond that, the rules, the tradition, the custom, the culture, the convention have provided that you must be ranking, for instance. You must have the opportunity and the benefit of experience. This thing has happened, and I was here when it happened. If you were not here before, you may not have those experience, you may not have those ideas. So that is why the number will shrink, definitely. And like I said, the rules also provide for it. So you have to be a ranking member. That is what it's called. Let me just debate a little bit. In United States, at a point in time between John Kerry and John McCain in the Committee on Defense, you almost know who will become the chairman, irrespective of who the president is, irrespective of which party, whether it's Democratic or Republican, that is in the majority. One person is likely to be the chairman of the committee. The other person is supposed to be the ranking member, the way they use their own ranking. On the other side, ranking for the opposition.
Okay.
Because, the longer you spend in parliament is like an old wine. You mature. The longer you spend in the parliament, the more information you imbibe. So, having said that, like I said, everybody is interested. So, the president of Nigeria, luckily for us, was here as a senator, was a former governor, a civil libertarian, an accountant, somebody that knows about what is happening. He's experienced. So I don't see him not handling the situation well. People can say anything. I see him as handling the situation well. And issues must always come up. Why do you want to take this guy and not me? That's the truth of the matter. We're all human beings. But at the end of the day, we must choose people that are ready to work for Nigeria, that are ready to work for stability of the government. If we spend our time resolving crises in 4 years, it doesn't make any sense. President Buhari in 8 years has done his best. He's left government. President Tinubu is now the president of Nigeria. He's the one that we not only build on what President Buhari has done, he has to chart his own path. He has to ensure that governance get to the doorstep of everybody. He cannot do this when there is chaos, when there is pandemonium, when there is fracas in the National Assembly. So, and he appreciates this, and that's what he's been doing. He's been discussing with people. But he must be interested in who becomes the presiding and the principal officers. 4 presiding officers, Senate President, Speaker, Deputy Senate President, Deputy Speaker, and the other principal officers. He must be interested. And is as seasoned as knowing that he must be interested. So I think so far so good. He's done well. So far so good. And as the tenure of the president, the former president, came to an end, his own tenure has started. The tenure of the members of the National Assembly will soon come to an end as the new National Assembly is inaugurated, is proclaimed, and as we start a new chapter in Nigeria, I am confident that there will not be any crisis.
Let me digress a little bit. You are known as an Ashiwaju boy, even though you're almost 60. You know, but you're known as an Ashiwaju loyalist.
Ashiwaju right? Is my principal.
Yes. And so one of the things that one would like to ask you is, there must be something you know about Ashiwaju that many of us do not know. And I'm just digressing a little bit because he's the president now. In form of building the nation, in tandem with building the nation.
I think we all know Ashiwaju very well. They probably, in the process of articulating and harmonizing our thoughts, we have not come to a conclusion about Ashiwaju. Ashiwaju is not a difficult person to know. He's always been there.
Tell us something about him that the rest of us may not know.
There is nothing. Let me explain it to you. Okay. Number one, we all know him as a civil libertarian. He will not. I was chairman judiciary in Lagos, 1999 to 2003. Then I now became the majority leader in Lagos, and I will tell you for free that he will obey the constitution. He will not circumvent the law. He will do everything within the ambit of the law. He's a smart person. If anybody does not know that before, they will know that by now. He's an extremely smart person. So, but at the same time, he will not circumvent the law. He will ask you, I've had the opportunity of engaging with him as chairman judiciary, and something came up, and my speaker then, who now happens to be the immediate past Science and Tech Minister, Dr. Senator Mamora. And we had to engage with him on this issue. And he was also there with his own chairman judiciary, as it were, his attorney general, who happens to be the immediate past vice president. And we looked at the issue, and he said, is that the position of law? He said, okay, we follow it, and we live with the consequence. But he tries not to put himself in that cul-de-sac because he plans ahead. He thinks all the time. So he plans ahead. So I see him as planning ahead. And he's going to respond swiftly. DSS, this is our office, it's not EFCC's office. He came at the right time to say no. Because apparently these are issues within the same government, under the same umbrella. These are not issues that you go beyond the red line. There's always a red line in government. You don't go beyond it. It's the same government. So, like I said, I'm just rehashing what people should have realized about it. I can't say anything new about him. His life. Look, let me explain something to you. We all saw him in Abeokuta, the famous Abeokuta declaration. And, the negative media may call it outbursts, but it doesn't make any difference to me. But that is the Ashiwaju we all know. The Ashiwaju that told everybody from day one that I don't know where people are running to, but me, I'm running to the villa.
And he has won the race. But
someone that knew from the beginning that this is not going to be an easy race. And as much as people try to derail him, to say, oh, is this, oh, is that, he did not even look. He was looking at the ball and he was looking at the goalpost. He wanted to score. And if you foul him, he won't wait for the referee to blow. All he wanted to do, he won't dive. All he wanted to do was to score. So, and I think is someone that we should study. Is someone that in every leadership school, even school of entrepreneurship, should be studied. He knows, he has an idea from day one what he wants because he has thought about it. It's not, you can't just have an idea what you want when you've not sat down to think about it. So he's thought about it. And all he wants to do is he's not just a thinker, he's also a doer. He accomplishes. He puts down the issues and he tries his humanly possible best. So he's not an angel, he's not a saint. I keep saying this.
Neither is he a demon.
No, it's not. No, it's far from. It's far from that.
Okay,
it's far
but
from
I know
that.
if I let you, you will continue to talk about that.
No, we are not. We are no longer campaigning. It's not as if we are campaigning.
I know, but I need to take you back to building the nation of the assembly. I just wanted to take a quick break with that, right? By the way, you're watching Building the Nation on Global TV, Star Times Channel 276. I have been speaking with Senator Jide Omoworare, and maybe this is the right time to say Prince Senator or Senator Prince Jide Omoworare, and we've been looking at legislative matters, how he was able to manage the relationship between the presidency and, of course, the legislature as the senior special assistant to President Muhammadu Buhari. We're going back now to the 10th Assembly. We touched on it a little bit. Your party, the APC, has made a categorical statement for the first time in the history of political parties, not only zoning, but also naming names. That may not have
I think for the first time that it's in the public glare.
Okay.
You will hardly find any party or any government in power that has just one election that does not have a preferred candidate. You can't sit on the fence. I've said that. I've said that before. The difference now is that names were mentioned. And I said it was because that came into public light. Don't let me lie to you. In politics, if something is zoned to your area, probably it's because you've hustled for it or you've lobbied for it, which is the more technical terminology.
Acceptable word.
If you sleep on your rights or whatever, they won't zone anything to your area. So for the president, or let me put it in a better manner, because the president it was the party.
Has not taken a stand. It's the party
said,
your party.
The party said, these are the people we want. So the party must have had a reason, not only to zone, but also to attach names to those zoning. And nobody is sacrosanct, sincerely. There's nobody that will say, I'm perfect. The people that were nominated are not perfect. The people that were not nominated are not perfect.
Okay, let me take you back a little bit. Wouldn't you say that may have caused a lot more bad blood? Because from my own view as a person from the outside now, right, in 1999, 2003, 2007 and all of that, we didn't have a situation where people actually felt like this person has been selected over me. For example, if it was zoned to the North Central, we leave it at the North Central and let the people from the North Central find a way around themselves. Okay, I see you shaking your head.
I will just say two quick things. Number one, I agree with you that probably we would have managed the process better if names were not attached.
Okay.
Don't you understand?
Yes.
But that does not mean, number one, I said two things. That does not mean we don't have somebody in mind. I'm being frank with you. I'm being candid with you. That's one. Number two, in 1999, we did not have such a relationship, but we had in 2003. Don't forget that President Obasanjo had people.
Yes.
And not until the PDP caucus came up with the people, because they didn't want to go through what he went through between 1999 and 2000. But that does not mean, because of Baba's character, he still did not go through the same thing between 2003 and 2007 and so on and so forth. So, but I'm telling you that beyond that, probably President Buhari in 2015, despite the rumored, we wanted Lawan other than Saraki and so on and so forth. 2015, I believe. And even that, I think there were just some issues with management of the process, administering the process that went wrong and went seriously wrong. There is hardly anybody in any. Let's discuss this at any plane. You cannot imagine, even in United States, in UK, anywhere in the world, and I'll be the person that you will work with, and I don't have a relationship with you before, or my relationship with you has become dicey or suspect, and I won't want to have. It has nothing to do with separation of powers. Separation of powers. I'm not going to come as executive to the parliament to do their work. I'm not going to be at committee meetings when issues are considered. I'm not going to be on the floor when they do the first reading, the second reading, and the third reading. You also, as a parliamentarian, are not going to come to the executive to implement. But at the end of the day, I must be interested that I can disagree with you. I can disagree with you. But at least we must have consensus at them to the extent that we can even sit down and discuss the issue. I've mentioned President Buhari's example. He had cordial relationship. You see, the relationship with the executive and legislature must always entail some issues. You must cooperate with each other. You must coordinate with each other. And you must collaborate with each other. So if, for any reason, somebody wants to emerge and I'm in the executive as Senate President or Speaker, I may not come to the Parliament and I don't have the power or the right to come. If the person even emerges, I cannot even come because checks and balances are provided that I can't come. Separation of powers, I can't come. They even have the right of oversight over me. They can monitor and investigate anything under Section 88 of the Constitution. They can even summon me or any of my ministers under Section 89 of the Constitution. But at the same time, I have a right to say that people loyal to me, and choosing my words most advisedly, this is my preferred person. It doesn't have to come to the public glare. Unfortunately now, it has, but I'm telling you that since 1999 in our democratic history, political history in Nigeria, legislative history in Nigeria, apart from probably 1999 and maybe 2015, that the former president did not pull his weight fully
And he realized that
in support, and he pulled that weight in 2019. You will be a foolish executive officer, choosing my word most advisedly, and I'm sorry for using that word, but you'll be extremely foolish.
Or careless.
Or reckless.
Yeah, reckless.
Not to indicate somebody you can work with.
Okay. It's almost time to go, but before we go, the Ninth Assembly will wrap up in a few days, right? Having worked with the Ninth Assembly, what should Nigerians hope to get from the 10th Assembly, as they come in? What should Nigerians hope for with regards to the 10th Assembly? I know you, by the grace of God, will have moved to higher heights.
By the grace of God.
Right? Else I would have said, should we also expect an executive, legislative agenda, And
even if I'm not on this seat, I'm sure I will still... I've been a parliamentarian for a very long time.
Absolutely. 99.
99. and it's... There's nothing you can do about the experience you garner, the experience you gain, or the experience you've gathered.
No, it's Ghana. You're right. It's an English word.
Nothing you can do about it.
True. Except to use.
To use. So...
Or deploy.
Or deploy. There is quite a large turnover of lawmakers in Nigeria, which is not meant to be. But you see, the truth of the matter is that everybody wants
to be a part of it.
To be a part of the system, and there is no sin in anybody wanting to be. It's not a transgression. It's not an iniquity. But we must manage the process well. So what I expect is still managing the process well. I know Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and Commander-in-Chief, will manage the process well and he works with a team. So Asiwaju and his team will manage the process well. Even when you are in the opposition, I can mention 1/3 or almost half of the people in opposition coming to Senate that Ashwaju has had one relationship or the other with
At some point
point or the other. So I don't foresee any major challenge. I say foresee the Senate and the reps disagreeing with the executive if and when they have to. But at the same time, I expect a stable transition in the National Assembly and a stable relationship between the executive and the legislature with a view to, at the end of the day, ensuring that there is good governance and that we deliver public good.
Which is the most important thing, and that is how we build a nation. If you let us, we probably will continue this conversation for another 3 hours, but then time is fast spent and time is not our friend. When you have good conversations like this, you keep it short and sharp. Many thanks to you, Senator Babajide Omoworare, for your time. We do hope that you're moving to greater heights, especially politically. I want to ask you if you will be running again for another position sometime soon. But my producer is already telling me to get out of here.
I will answer that question the next time we meet.
And that's our package today on Building the Nation on Global TV Star Times Channel 276. It's been an absolute pleasure bringing this to you. We are hoping that this dispensation of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu will give Nigerians all that they hope for in terms of good governance. But of course, we do know that this is almost impossible without a cordial relationship with the legislature. We hope that they both find a middle ground, and we look forward to the good governance that will come from it. My name is Kemi Shekona. I'll catch you again next time.